Hey family, and welcome back to Awakened Life. I am super excited to talk about today's subject matter because I literally just had this conversation and it was wow. So a lot of times when we're communicating with our children and we're trying to share the things that are important to us or why we do what we do and how we do it, a lot of stuff gets lost in translation. They're like, I'm not trying to hear it. All I hear is some kind of boundary. I might be losing privileges. I might not be getting what I want in this moment, and now I'm gonna tune out, right? And so I was having a conversation the other day with my son, and we were just talking about the importance of integrity, character development, just a couple of different things. And I wound up talking about a seed. And so my analogy was, what I was asking him questions, what does a seed have to go through to become the tree? We see acorns on these trees, we see different types of seeds that are planted, and we just think that we put them in the ground and they become a tree. So anyway, through that conversation, walking him through it, I took it step for step. And as I was talking, I was like, oh my God, this is powerful, because he, in his elementary age, is learning about seeds and plants and seasons and all of that, and it was such a practical way to get this lesson across. And I was like, okay, I need to share this with parents too, because a lot of times, even for myself, it's like, integrity is important, practicing, different sports things, exercising, all these things are important, and they just sometimes get so lost in translation. And so basically I asked him questions. What has to take place in a seed? The first step for it to become a tree. The first step is the sprout has to break through the shell. So then we discussed whether or not we thought that that shell breaking was something that was going to be like happy and joyful and feel good. And his response was like, no, like breaking doesn't typically feel good, da, da, da. I'm like, right. And so then I described the importance of practice and getting his work done and doing his chores and creating those habits. They're obnoxious now, but it's a part of that sprout growing through and breaking through that seed. I also liken the seed to the more baby stages, 0 to 6 kind of thing, where I'm like, okay, but then the sprout has to start, breaking through and beginning its journey. And the other thing too we talked about was this type of soil that the seed was in. And so we were like, yeah, can I throw this seed in concrete and it'll sprout a tree? No. Can we do this and that? And I use that analogy to his attitude and his approach in response to me guiding him or correcting him in something, and how fools hate correction. Like, are we fools? No. And I know I'm not raising a fool. And so we just were able to tie in all of these little gems. And so basically, step for step, from the sprout to what does the sprout need to grow and become, more of a seedling. It needs rain, it needs sunshine, it needs water and sunshine. And what was water and sunshine in our lives as we were kind of looking at these different challenges we were having in communication. But long story short, going step for step for step, using examples that are easily relatable to our children, like a seed breaking open, sprout coming up, needing water and sunshine to grow into that strong oak. And so communicating to him like, I'm raising an oak, I'm raising a sequoia for real, and we've got to break through this seedling stage, this seed stage, to begin to develop and to begin to cultivate. And it was the very first time in a long time where I saw visibly on his face where he was like, oh, and how this whole process of growth, we're in awe of the oak trees, the mighty oak, and the sequoias that grow to be hundreds of feet tall, in Cali. And we forget that it was once a seed that needed to be broken open, but it had to be placed in fertile ground. nourished with water and sunshine in order to even begin the journey. And so if you are struggling with getting your children to understand your rules, your boundaries, or maybe you're in a pivot season with them and they're very resistant, just have a one-on-one. Like, number one, I'm not going back and forth with you. We're not arguing. But have a moment where maybe you pick another analogy that they know or that they've been exposed to recently that would make sense to them, and try to pair the different lessons and the different stages and the different behaviors and expectations to things that match that analogy. That way, as they are going through the day-to-day, like, so at this point, I'm like, are you a seed or are you a sprout? I don't have to be like, I told you to blah, blah, blah. We've already established what is taking place. We're growing, we are becoming established. And so then it gives him an opportunity to self-correct and be engaged in the process. And so, like I said, I hadn't seen that light bulb go off, and it really has been amazing over the last few days, kind of being able to be like, seed or sprout, bruh, seed or sprout, like, what are we doing? Like, oh, we need to water it today. Oh, we need to get some sunshine today. Oh, we need to get moving. We've got to nourish this body, this sprout that we are developing. And it just has created such a loving dynamic around things that can be very harsh and combative if you're not careful in your approach. So I hope that you guys are having an amazing day. And honestly, it was a message for me personally. I was like, what stage am I in? I was like, because I think I had shared with him, I was like, I'm not yet the mighty oak that I desire to be either. Like, I'm a tree, but I'm not that oak. And so I've got to be mindful to still nourish myself with water and sunshine and continuing to grow upward and forward. And so, also letting them know, like, it's not over when you're 18 and it's not this thing. It's like we're consistently growing and developing. And by bringing them into our journey and understanding and being honest about the fact that we're still on our own journey and guiding them through their journey, they have a real understanding that there's process. Life is process. Growing up is process, and it's not something that ends at 18 years old. It's not something that ends when you graduate college. You are ever becoming until you grow into that mighty oak or that sequoia that has hundreds and hundreds of rings that tell the story of all the seasons that they've gone through. So I hope that this was encouraging to you and helpful for you on your parenting journey. I know it was helpful for me, and I was like, oh wow, God, thank you. Woo! That was a really great way to navigate a very difficult, or it was just annoying to me, but conversation. So you guys have an amazing day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.